This is my story of the South Downs Way 50k. How did it go? Spoiler alert. Yeah, I finished. Not only did I finish, but I got this special award given to me actually for finishing in 118th place out of everybody. Yep, just this medal here. I was pretty average. So what was the run like? Well, there were hills, there was running, there was walking, there were hills, there might have been some horses. And did I say that there were hills? This was the inaugural, this was the first event of its kind hosted by Centurion Running, the 50k on the South Downs Way on the same day as a 100-mile race. Much bigger affair, but this was big enough for me. The fun of the day all started with a very early start, as I had about an hour and a half to drive. I was driving to the finish, where I was going to get on a coach that took me to the start at the Matterley Bowl. And on my drive there, I was on a proper Google route, going on some windy back roads. Found myself on the course on the way to Queen Elizabeth Country. I could see all the signage pointing which way it was. So it was a little bit exciting, but also it made me think that I should probably just taken some main road to get there. But you know, Google routes. And so I arrived where I was parking the car up, and I could see where they were setting up the finish for later in the day. It started off quite misty and a little bit windy and mysterious, but that was going to change. On the coach, on the way in, the nerves really set in when the bus was pulling around the road at the top of the Matterley Bowl, and you could see down into the bowl itself where the start line was. And then I knew that actually I was getting closer, and the closer I got, the more nervous I became. And on that subject, I think I probably went to the toilet about 2 or 3 times before starting, which was going to have a slightly negative effect on me once the race began. But I got registered, and it was all very nicely organised. There was quite a nice buzz in the air, and the sun started to come out, and I slapped on sunscreen and it all started to warm up. And then the race began. In the beginning, I was trying to keep calm because I knew that I had a long day ahead of me, and it's only the second time I've run 50k, so I wasn't exactly sure how it was going to go or how to pace it properly, but my heart rate was going up. I took a couple of salt pills after a certain point, and realising that it could have been because I was dehydrated from all the toileting earlier. And after those salt pills, the salt chews, that really sorted me out, and things calmed down, and it was all really good. So I'm 10k in now, approaching the first aid station. Currently running past the start again. Been doing like spirals around it, but it's been nice scenery so far. But after that, the first checkpoint hit, and then the route joined the South Downs Way National Trail proper, and then it really felt like we were getting somewhere. The other strange thing about the beginning part of the race is that the second aid station was only about a 25-minute run from the first, and so I did make sure that I refilled my bottles, and then I decided to take a bit more food, and I had a Marmite sandwich that had the most Marmite I had ever seen in my life, and it was all right, but yeah, maybe too much Marmite. Cruising along on the South Downs Way National Trail was really nice. It's a beautiful place. The scenery was lovely. The type of terrain, there was lots of like gravel paths, there were stony tracks, there were small footpaths, there were grassy fields and some hills, like I said before. Some were easy, some were hard. There was one particular one which was tarmac, and it was just cruising all the way down into this little village, which felt amazing. And then that was, I think, just after the third aid station. It was around about the point where I was beginning to feel it, which was good because I'd got to about 25k and actually felt quite good up to that stage, like I could just keep going. So that was a good sign. It was the bit between the third aid station and the fourth aid station, which was probably the longest and the most difficult overall. It was about 15 kilometers. It was getting warmer and I was getting a little bit more tired. I started to run out of fluid, and in fact overall on the day I drank about 5 litres, maybe 6 litres of water and electrolyte, so half of it was electrolyte. And there was a point on this stretch where, as I was getting hot, I had to dip my hat into a stream and just whack it on my head, and that started to cool me down. Oh, that feels good. So the route is marked really well. There were like little pink arrows on signs at various points, and then these pink ribbons that were hanging down from bushes that, pro tip, double up as a speed boost if you manage to tap them. So that was all really good, apart from there was one point where I think I was messing about with my camera and missed a marker, and I felt a little bit lost, so I had a bit of a 50-50 as to which way I was going to go. I fortunately went the correct way, so I didn't get lost, which was great. Once I'd reached the final aid station, I had maybe stopped a little bit longer there than the others, as I was starting to feel tired. The day was really catching up with me, trying to keep on top of drinking water and electrolytes, but that was getting tougher and tougher, just to make sure that feeling like I had enough in my bottles. That's the finish over there. It's still about 12 kilometers away. My stamina on my watch had reached 0 by about the marathon distance, and so then it feels like you're in no man's land there. You don't know if you're going to finish the thing or not. I did, however, feel like I could go that final 10 kilometers, except this race had a real sting in the tail, and that was Butser Hill. As you're approaching the final 5 kilometers, you're almost at the top of Butser Hill, and the finish line was at the bottom. However, instead of going straight down to the finish, we went off down a path to the left. Yeah, so we were going down, down, down. My legs were getting tired. I was beginning to stumble on rocks. Got about 6 or 7 kilometers to go, and the scenery is beautiful still. The body is still moving. I'm feeling tired though. And then we reached the bottom of that path, turned a corner, went through a gate, through some woods, and then it started to go up again. And it was probably the steepest climb of the day, the longest climb of the day, it felt like at least. And then eventually that hill kind of leveled off, and I saw some horses at the top. At least I think I did. Perhaps I was hallucinating at that stage. They were all very friendly. After reaching the top of Butser Hill, it's a great big grassy topped hill with grassy slopes down the side. You could see the finish line down below, and I just knew that I'd done it, and all I had to do was get down that hill. But it was one of those hills where you feel like your feet are tripping over themselves as you're kind of cruising down. But I was speeding up and my pace was quickening, and I ran through a gate where one of the marshals was holding it open for me. You're a true gent, thank you. Straight over there. He told me which way the finish was. I could see it perfectly well. Thank you. Cheers, thanks. Cheers, buddy. It was a good race. It was good fun. The scenery was beautiful. The weather was ideal. The underfoot conditions were perfectly runnable and good. Overall, I recommend it if you ever felt so inclined to do so. So it just leaves me with the question is, when's the next one?